Hey, Gearheads, and welcome to Garage Talk, a discussion about all things automotive. I'm Cory.
And I'm Matt. And each week, this podcast will serve as a catalyst for discussion on all sorts of topics that grind our gears, rev our engines, or just need a bit more conversation.
On this week's episode, we are going to be diving into probably one of our more popular Facebook posts of the last month and talk a little Hummer EV action this week. I've referenced it already, but if you have not gone and found us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, you can do so. We are at GT Garage Talk on all three platforms, or you can head over to our website, gtgaragetalk.com, and you can find out all the things that we're into, what we're driving, and the latest car news. We're getting much better and more up-to-date putting car news out there, and we've got all kinds of new and interesting stories out there, including one I just posted, yesterday for you listening, as this comes out, about the results of the Texas Truck Rodeo and the truck of Texas. So very exciting stuff over there at gtgaragetalk.com. But before we jump into all that, I'm sorry, all you podcast listeners who can't see this awesome shirt that I'm rocking today, but I just got some new swag from the GT Garage Talk shop. Again, head on over to gtgaragetalk.com. You can see what I'm talking about. But I'm rocking the Team Corvette shirt today. So we've got a big weekend coming up here at Garage Talk. And if you have not yet followed us on Facebook, Instagram, and or Twitter, do so now, because we will be doing some live streaming from the SVRA weekend at the Circuit of the Americas, the only F1 track in America. There's a lot going on. So it's a vintage racing, and it's the, what does SVRA stand for? SVRA.com.
I almost pulled it up while you were talking a minute ago.
You know, it would help if I got, it's getting all the words in the right order. So it is the Sports Car Vintage Racing Association. And they are putting on a big event at Circuit of the Americas this weekend, and we will be there. We were invited thanks to our friend, Sean Jones. If you have not gone and listened to Sean's episode, it is episode number 28, Corvette Invasion and Sweet Rise of Texas. He is the owner, the leader of the largest Corvette show in the state of Texas. He has got a pretty sweet C7 Vet himself.
Yeah.
And so he's got 299 of his Corvette brethren from around the state to join him this weekend. They're going to have a police escort from Bastrop, Texas to the Circuit of the Americas, 300 Corvettes. It's going to be amazing. We will be there, unfortunately not in a Corvette, until we get to the Circuit of the Americas. And I'm just going to leave it at that. You're going to have to go find us on the socials, on the social media, to find out exactly what's going on this weekend. But I am beside myself excited. I cannot wait. I cannot wait. So, yes, go check out Sean's episode, number 28, Corvette Invasion and Sweet Rise of Texas, after you get done listening to this one, of course, naturally. But very excited about that. Cannot wait at all. But as I said in the intro, one of our more popular and most engaging posts that we've put on Facebook specifically here in the last month has been GMC's announcement of the rebirth of the Hummer brand. So it's a sub-brand of GMC trucks and no longer a standalone brand. And most people remember Hummers as the H2 from, oh gosh, when was that? Late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah.
Gas guzzling, basically a reskinned Chevy Tahoe, much boxier, much heavier.
3/4 ton, tie rod snapping monster. Yep.
You know, I've got a couple of friends that still have H2s, and they love them.
Really?
And so it was interesting to get their input over the social media about the launch of the new Hummer EV. I will say, styling-wise, it is very true and faithful to the Hummer brand. and legacy. More specifically, the H2 and H3 that left us not so long ago, actually.
I would classify it as being only the second ugliest electric vehicle truck out there right now.
Well, that's because there aren't too many.
Well, there's not.
We got the Nikola or whatever it is.
Yeah, the Nikola, the Rivian, if it ever decides to turn loose, the F-150, the Cybertruck, which is the ugliest, and
which Elon has alluded to the fact that it's going to look different than what we've seen. How different? Only Elon knows.
Well, it's definitely a polarizing design either way. I mean, at least with the Hummer EV, like it looks halfway like a Hummer. So
and halfway like a truck.
That helps
hood
too.
And a bed. You don't just have this like TP shape from a profile.
Giant aluminum wedge.
Yeah, I can't remember who said it, but I remember hearing it said. I think it was Tim Cook or Steve Jobs talking about Apple technology and wearable technology, and they were talking about if you want mass adoption of stuff like this, it needs to be somewhat familiar, not completely left field. And while Tesla got a lot of press for their interesting looks of the Cybertruck, and I think they would have definitely sold out of whatever pre-orders if they had put a cap on pre-orders. I just don't know how long that exact design would be a popular seller and how much of the truck market they would have captured. I think they would have captured more the youth market or people that never, ever, ever, ever would have thought of having a truck because they just wanted something different.
Yeah.
But anyway, going back to that, the Hummer EV is very much a truck. It has a very truck profile. It's got really even the standard length hood, even though there's no need. And 5-foot truck bed. It's a truck for all intents and purposes. Interesting thing though, it doesn't have a separate truck bed, so it's more like the Avalanche was, in that it's all connected. So that hurts your payload,
right?
Because
when you've got a 4,000-pound battery in the middle of it, it kind of hurts your payload too. But
well, yeah. But when you design it from the ground up, knowing that there are going to be heavy batteries down there, you can adjust accordingly. But last I've heard, there have not been payload and towing information released, and I've had my ear down. I've been listening. I've been waiting. That's the big thing on everybody's mind. Is you're releasing this truck.
Right.
What can it tow and what can it haul in its bed? And as of yet, GM has not shared that information with the world. So.
Well, and I wonder too, like with the Cybertruck, no, it wasn't the Cybertruck either. TFL did the Model X, the towing up the Ike Gauntlet, and it did horrible because it's not set up.
The Model X
pull,
was never meant to tow, and they even had to like buy some auxiliary interfaces for the taillights on the trailer to even work because like Tesla was never meant to tow.
Yeah,
but
that's
what Tesla
that's been
you.
Right.
Yeah.
That's been the big argument though, is that capacity, how quickly it goes away when you load up that vehicle. They're designed and built around this weight, this profile, this size, and when you start changing that or adding to that, then you run into those issues.
Well, I think that's one reason why the Hummer EV is so huge. Like, besides the fact that people love full-size trucks and crew-cab trucks, I think it is so huge because they wanted so much power and they wanted the big batteries basically. And I'm not an electrician. I can regurgitate what has been told to me about the crazy way in which GM has engineered this battery pack. It is a revolutionary type of design that can be charged, I believe they said, in 800 volts and 400 volts. Like there are multiple different ways you can charge it, and we'll get into the details on that as we work down the page and kind of discuss some of these features. But one of the reasons why they went so huge with this thing is for the battery capacity and to make sure that they had it.
Right.
So,
one of the things I noticed as far as the design is concerned, and to give kind of an idea of how big it is, are the 3 center mount clearance lights on the roof.
yeah.
Anytime a vehicle is over, I think it's 86 or 88 inches wide, you have to have markers.
Over 80 inches wide.
Over 80. So
yeah.
you gotta have markers in the center to designate where the height is, and then you gotta have markers out on the corners to tell you how wide it is. So it's the Raptor and the TRX both have those because of that and because of how massive they are. So
it's interesting that you bring those two up, because the way GM's media machine was promoting this prior to fully launching it to where we could see it was they were calling it the world's first super truck.
Right.
And so clearly they have those 2 vehicles in their sights as, okay, this is our market. This is who we're going after. Anyone who would want a TRX or anyone who would want a Raptor, because we're going to have crazy acceleration and we're going to be able to do crazy things off-road.
Right.
And I think they check both those boxes quite well, yet we are still here in prototype form.
Right. Yeah. 0 to 60 in a measly 3 seconds, which
you're basically moving a house from 0 to 60 in 3 seconds. Which is insane.
It's supercar type acceleration, and we've seen that with the Teslas over the years, because it's instant torque. It's all of it right now.
So hardly any media outlets have truly harped on this fact. So I'm going to be like the second or third out of all of them to really harp on it. I can't believe no one's picked up on it quite yet. So you referenced it goes 0 to 60 in approximately 3 seconds.
Right.
In order to do that, you have to engage a mode that GMC has dubbed watts to freedom, playing on the fact that it's electric and that you're going to be, free to go as fast as you want. It does multiple different things. It changes the ride height and makes some cool noises for you because, electric vehicles are silent and we all like to rev our engines and stuff like that. But have you ever stopped to think of the initials watts to freedom leaves behind? WTF. So, in a nice little nod to ludicrous mode with all the Teslas and everything that you have to do there with ludicrous mode, Chevy just went, what? WTF. Yeah.
That's funny.
So I found that truly
that.
hilarious when my brain wrapped around that one. And like I said, I have not really heard many media outlets pick up on that little wink, wink, subtle joke that GMC came up with, because it's kind of a dumb name.
Well, yeah. I mean, I can say, being an American-made vehicle and whatnot.
It's American-made.
It's American assembled. It's American assembled.
Yes. It'll be made in the Ohio plant, so
Yeah.
But so I found that very humorous. I had to be one of the first to really go in detail. I wanted to make sure all our listeners could say, you know what, they're poking fun at Tesla with their ludicrous, with their WTF.
Yep.
So
I love it.
We'll leave it at that. So while we're here, we can talk about some of the other crazy numbers that go around with this WTF watts to freedom, and that is their advertised 1,000 horsepower and 11,500 pound-feet of torque, which from the get-go, everybody who understands horsepower and torque numbers, especially torque numbers, they're going, no, that ain't right.
Right.
That's no.
Yeah.
No way is that happening. And so GM is doing a little bit of,
Numbers padding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Creative marketing. We'll go with that one, maybe.
Okay.
Because so in an internal combustion engine, which most everybody has, torque is typically measured at the engine, what the engine is producing. And then you've got some gears and different ratios that changes how much torque actually makes it to the ground.
Right.
And to the wheels. And with electric motors, that plays a little bit bigger factor, I guess you would say.
Right.
And so most everybody in the industry agrees at this point that 11,500 pound-feet of torque is not motor torque, but wheel torque. Torque actually applied at the wheels, which
right.
We'll try and keep this as high level as possible. Our friends over at Engineering Explained on YouTube helped us out on this because, again, I'm not an engineer. I wanted to be one for a while, but yeah, when calculus started getting real crazy, I was like, I'm out. But wheel torque is basically motor torque times your gear ratios, and basically it's a way that GM has found to give this insanely huge number that doesn't compare to any number that we've ever been fed before, ever.
Yeah.
Nobody reports wheel torque. Nobody.
No.
They are the first to prominently advertise that number. So again, our friends over at Engineering Explained did some math for us. Thank you very much. And this 11,500 pound-feet of torque is most likely only on the top line version that has 3 motors. And basically, with the numbers that they have given us so far, Engineering Explained has surmised that the motor torque is somewhere around 1,000 pound-feet, which is still an incredibly impressive number.
It's enormous.
For a crew cab truck, and would have been completely worth advertising 1,000 horsepower, 1,000 pound-feet of torque.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I don't understand the necessity to complicate it and, like, make all of us, the automotive journalists, go, no, but, like, here, let me explain it to you. Like, you just added a level of complexity that needed to be there.
Right. And there's not, like you say, not to get off on too much of a tangent, but there's brake horsepower, there's wheel horsepower, there's flywheel horsepower, and the same can be said for torque. There's wheel torque, there's, and all of those calculate out differently based on gear ratios in the transmission, in the rear end, and even in some cases the tire size, or in all cases the tire size, and the way that all that moves together. So it's not necessarily dishonest.
I'm saying shame on you, GMC, because it's not, they are the first manufacturer to start advertising this number. And
I really hope that it does not start a trend of, because
I think it will. I think that's what they're trying to do, because so Cadillac has gotten a lot of flack here recently. If you look on the back of any brand new Cadillac model, there is a number that makes no sense to most people. So the back of the Escalade has a 600 on it, and that is the torque number in Newton meters. And the reason they do that is because this push towards electrification, they can't put engine displacement, they can't put anything cool back there.
Right.
And electric motors are notoriously super torquey. So naturally, you're going to want the torque number over the horsepower number, and Newton meters makes it look like a cooler number. So hence, they've rounded it to 600 Newton meters of torque. The back of every new Escalade gets 600 Newton meters. Again, this is so that when the Cadillac Lyriq, their first all-electric crossover, comes out, they can continue the same nomenclature on the back of their vehicles, and it can have however many Newton meters of torque it has. Now, my question will be, are they going to use wheel torque or motor torque? Because their friends over at GMC and with the Hummer EV have started a precedent now, and
Right.
it'll be interesting to see what the industry does. But obviously, GMC is trying something here, and we'll see if the rest of the industry lets them get away with it.
I hope not. I really hope not. I mean, like you can look at the numbers and say like when everybody measures things pretty much the same. Like anytime somebody starts talking about Newton meters or wheel horsepower or brake horsepower, I have to go in my brain and calculate. Okay, all right, so we're talking about this and trying to do the fuzzy math to get to a number that I halfway understand. So
I got one even better for you. When I'm watching automotive review videos from Canada and they talk about their fuel economy in kilometers per liter, and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
those numbers, they don't compute.
Right. Well, and it would be one thing to say, kilometers per gallon or miles per liter, right? Because that would, but when you got to do both to make it.
Huh? What? Help me out here.
One standard. There just needs to be one standard.
Yeah. And it needs to be the American version because America, right?
Yeah.
So, no offense to our overseas listeners or our Canadian or, our foreign listeners. All right. So, Matt, let's work down the page here a little bit just to keep us from rambling on and talk about some of the interesting features that GMC has baked into this above and beyond. So,
okay.
I'll get some of the obvious ones, bing, bing, boom, right out of the way. It's a
Sure.
GMC, so it's got the multi-pro tailgate that you love.
Oh.
Which, when I saw it, I was like, oh, it's got the multi-pro. And I was like, well, duh, it's a GMC. So, yeah, of course it's got it. And even the Chevy Silverado's got it now. So,
so you brought up GMC again, and it clicked in my head again. The first couple of leaked photos that we saw of the Hummer EV was an updated Hummer nose on a 3/4 ton GMC truck, and it looked horrendous. Way worse than this.
I'm very, very thankful that this thing does not look like that.
Yes.
This actually has at least a somewhat cohesive look. And we haven't said it yet, but you can head on over to gtgaragetalk.com and actually see our full blog post on it, as well as all the details and features that we have gotten from GMC so far on this truck. All that is on our website, gtgaragetalk.com. But let's just kind of real quickly run through these, and we'll talk about some of them as we find them interesting. The crab walk feature, which
gimmick.
Yes. So I was a little sad when I saw it in action because in my mind I was thinking like tank turn, like the Rivian can do, which I had a remote controlled, I think it was called a Rebound remote control car when I was a kid, and basically it had a left motor and a right motor, and it could flip either or because the wheels and tires were bigger than the body itself, but you can make it spin in 360 circles right there in place because the left side was going forward and the right side was going back, and it was just doing a tank turn.
Right.
And for some reason, when I first heard this option teased, I was like, oh man, it's going to be able to, just spin in place. That's going to be amazing. And we knew it had 3 motors, so I was like, okay, we'll get 1 in the front and 2 in the rear, and maybe we can make that work. That's not what this is.
No.
So this is something, basically just a software upgrade to something that General Motors has been doing for a while, and that's 4-wheel steering.
Yeah.
And it's not even unique to General Motors. I drove the Rolls-Royce Cullinan at the Texas Auto Riders Texas Truck Rodeo, and it had 4-wheel steering.
Yeah.
And you say it's a gimmick, but I say it will come in handy occasionally. But basically, for those who don't know, it's an option where both the front and rear wheels can turn in the same direction, and the vehicle can actually move diagonally.
Right.
For a majority of these vehicles, they are going to be mall crawlers. Let's face it, this crab walk features is just going to help you avoid stuff in the parking lot.
Well, but
And,
even at
and
that,
the park
it doesn't.
this giant beast.
Right. But even to that point though, it's not. They don't oppose, right? So the front ones
Right.
don't turn out and the rear ones turn in, so that it'll, or the other way
Right.
around, so
Yeah.
that it'll spin in a circle, or turn
Which-
opposite, so that it'll do
yeah.
the same thing.
Well,
They turn
does
the same
that.
direction, and
In normal driving, if you have not engaged crab walk at low speeds, they turn in opposite directions. Let's
okay,
see if I get that. Yeah.
to help swing the
speeds-
rear of the
yeah.
vehicle around.
Low speeds, they turn in opposite directions. High speeds, they turn in the same direction.
Yeah.
So,
Which Honda did that on the Preludes back in the early '90s. I mean, it's not new technology. It's just revisited.
Yeah, here's something else that we can do. Which, again, I will go back to the sheer size of this thing. They almost had to.
Well, yeah,
they're getting so big.
But I still say it's gimmicky. It's not something that anybody is going to use outside of a party trick every once in a great while. Like, I just don't see it being that useful.
I know I've referenced it before, but my wife's Jeep Cherokee Trailhawk does have the self-parking feature. For maybe the first few months, I would be like, look what I can do. And I would let it park itself. And yeah, we don't use that anymore. So I agree that this will probably be relegated to, and look what else my Hummer can do.
Right.
A few months later, everyone will forget it. This next one will come in handy though, and that is extract mode.
Okay.
And that's where it'll lift itself. The entire vehicle will lift approximately 6 inches.
Yes.
And so there is a very unique suspension on this vehicle that enables it to do so, and will truly get you out of some very tight spots. I can tell you, one of the first times I got my Silverado stuck with my brother with me, not one of the first times I got it stuck, but when I had my brother with me, he told me to take a bad line. Yes, Clay, I'm blaming you on this one. He told me to take a bad line through some ruts that were made by a much bigger truck than mine.
Yeah.
And I got high centered.
Yep.
So extract mode would have come in supreme help in that instance, because all I was doing was sitting on my differential.
Yeah.
And I very much could have used just a few more inches of ground clearance.
A little more tire, something like that.
Yeah.
Another of the beauties of this vehicle, and those of you who know the Humvees, the military issue vehicles that the Hummer was based on, they were four-wheel independent, and this one is no different. It is independent suspension in all four corners, which again plays into the complexity of steering and suspension geometry when you're moving the suspension that much.
Yep. So another feature that would definitely come in handy when venturing off-road are the available UltraVision underbody cameras. And I lit up with, I love cameras on vehicles. Like, the more the better in my mind. And GM in general has done a really good job with their cameras and the interface in which you work with them in the center screen of the vehicle. And this just takes it to a whole nother level, because there are 2 cameras literally underneath the truck pointed at the front 2 wheels, to the point where you almost, and I will never advocate going completely without, but you almost don't need a spotter when doing some tricky off-road stuff.
Right.
Like I said, I never will advocate going without a spotter on truly difficult terrain, but these cameras do have the ability and capability to show you exactly what your tires are doing, where they're pointed, and what you are facing and trying to go up and over in a way that we've not seen in a vehicle yet.
Yeah.
Being that this is an electric vehicle, underbody protection is incredibly important, because that's where all the batteries live, and puncturing a battery, you're in big trouble there. So naturally, these cameras are tucked up in all that underbody protection, GM is saying that you can order additional lenses for these cameras if and when they meet a rock themselves. Because let's face it, if you're truly using this vehicle as it's designed, they want you to give them a run for their money.
Sure.
But,
Well,
truly an awesome camera angle and camera view.
you know, a couple hundred miles across the sand at 40 miles an hour, slinging all that stuff up against that camera, it's going to beat it up. Whether it's protected or not, it's going to tear some of that stuff up.
And they also have windshield washer fluid nozzles down there to spray them off if you happen to be out in the muddy stuff. So that's really cool. Then, you know, there's the boring EV stuff that we got to talk about, the 350 plus miles of potential range and stuff like, which for a giant house,
right,
is actually quite impressive.
It is.
I would like to see more. You know, Tesla's touting a whole lot more with the Cybertruck. It also has a much more aerodynamic shape.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see. Both of these are purely concept vehicle prototypes at this point. We don't have real ones in our possession to test.
Right.
So it'll be interesting to see what the actual real world numbers are on these.
Definitely be intriguing.
We're not there yet. So a feature I am very, very, very excited about. It's one of the reasons why I want a Jeep so bad. It's probably a reason why you want a Bronco so bad. Removable roof panels. Yep. Very excited about that. And I'm even more excited about the roll down rear window.
Yep.
Which finally somebody outside of Toyota is like, hey, well, why don't we make that very vertical rear window roll down?
Right.
And so I hope that feature finds its way into the next gen Silverado, Sierra, and all the other GM trucks along the line, because that is an awesome feature that I wish more vehicles had, is a roll down rear window. But can you imagine the open air feeling of this massive truck? You roll the windows down, you pop the roof off, roll that back window down, and just cruise.
Yep. Yeah, that'd be pretty sweet for sure. And it's you know, the Bronco did away with those extra center bars or some of the extra bars in the middle.
Yep.
GM has done.
Go there, didn't you?
Oh, I did. Yeah. I mean, I'm any chance I get to one up the Wrangler, I'm going to. So, the Bronco also made room for storage, which the Hummer EV also has. There's room to store all those panels
under the hood.
Under the hood, which is kind of cool. You know, out of the weather, out of getting beat up or walking away. But
and
it's
you
kind
don't
of
have to compromise your bed space.
Right. But it's they remind me of like the T-top Camaro, the way that they come off, and it's pretty sweet.
You had me sold at T-tops.
Right.
You definitely had me sold at Camaro.
Right. Oh yeah.
Yeah. The look of this truck with the top off and the windows down, I love it. I know you've already alluded to not being a super big fan of the styling of this thing. I would drive one. I would drive one very, very happily, no matter where I went. I think it's a good looking rig.
I would drive it. I mean, and I would probably enjoy driving it. I mean, I drive a whole 2 miles to work one way anyway, so I don't get a whole lot of time behind the wheel. But
you would barely ever have to charge it.
Oh, I know. I could go like 3 or 4 weeks without charging the thing, but I don't know. It's so massive. Like going from, and I love my F-150, my '08 F-150. I love the driving position in that truck. You got to sit up, a little dip down in the windows, made it nice for seeing out and seeing around. The low hood. It didn't feel like a massive truck, even though it was a full-size half-ton truck. Going from it to my little Subaru now, and being able to whip in and out of traffic and find parking spots anywhere and stuff like that, it's nice having something that I don't have to worry about knocking a mirror off of or knocking the mirror off of something else.
Well, again, that's where the four-wheel steering comes in handy. Come on, Matt.
Yeah. I'll believe
All
it when I
right.
see it.
Yeah. So I said I would own one of these and I'd drive one happily,
Uh-huh.
except,
Right. Holly
um,
won't let you mortgage the house.
that's essentially what it comes down to, because when I saw the prices for this vehicle, to say I was floored, flabbergasted,
Right.
bumfuzzled,
Right.
would be an understatement. I about fell over. And then again, to see their availability and when we'd actually be able to get them, I was even more just scratching my head. This is not an all-electric truck for the masses
No.
at all.
No.
So the way GMC rolled this out is the Edition 1, as they call it, is the first one out. It's got all the bells and whistles. It's the best one you can get, and will be available first in the fall of 2021, which is already a nice little wait for, putting down $100 deposit.
Right.
It stickers for, and if you're not sitting down yet, please do, $112,595,000. Did I say that right? I think I threw 1,000 in there where it didn't need to be. $112,595. Yeah, I definitely threw 1,000 in there where it needn't belong. But that's how just befuddled I was at this over $100,000 truck.
Right.
And Escalade. That's Escalade territory.
Oh, to a lot of extents, that's above and beyond Escalade territory. I mean, and you only get 5 seats. At least in Escalade, you get 8.
Granted, you can remove the roof, and it's electric, and it's got a bunch of these really cool features, but I just balked. I balked at $112,000 price tag, and well, good news is you won't be paying $112,000 for your Hummer EV, because you can't, because they're all sold out. If you want a Hummer EV, you're going to have to settle for the EV3X, which is not available until fall of 2022. So tack another year of waiting on there, and it starts at $99,995. So as well as makes no difference, $100,000.
So for the sake of argument and for the sake of comparison, you mentioned early in the episode that GM are going after the super truck segment, the Ram TRX, the Ford Raptor. The MSRP for the starting MSRP for the Ram TRX is $69,995.
And you can option one up close to $100K.
Close to $100.
But you will not cross that $100K mark from the factory.
Right.
And here, the first two that you can get your hands on, which one of them will be 2 years away from now, both start at $100K.
Right.
As near as makes no difference. So
or you can literally go spend half of that and get a Ford Raptor for $53,455. Like.
Okay. So yes, you were quoting base prices. I have not gotten there yet, Matt. You've jumped the gun just a little bit on me. I will forgive you.
Okay.
I won't hold it against you because if you wanted to wait another year.
Right. So wait. So
spring,
we're not talking about 2022 or 2023 now.
Yeah, we're talking about the spring, not the fall. So you don't have to wait that long. But the spring of 2023, you can get the EV2X, which is it has 2 motors instead of the 3-motor setup, and it's got a little bit less torque here. So 625 horsepower, 7,400 pound-feet of torque. Again, that's the misleading wheel torque number. Doesn't matter. Anyway, spring of 2023, EV2X, $89,995. So, it keeps coming down.
Right.
You just gotta wait a little bit longer and you save another $10,000.
Right.
So, if that is not good enough for you, I've got a entry-level base price model for you.
Right.
Are you ready?
I've been sitting down, so.
The Hummer EV2. Spring of 2024. So you're really waiting for this one.
Right.
This is would be the most popular one if it came out sooner than it will because, again, you've got these 3 other models that have come out before it. It's got 2 motors, 250 plus miles of estimated range, 625 horsepower, again, misleading 7,400 pound-feet of torque, for a grand total of, you guessed it, $79,995.
Right.
Because, just keep lopping 10 grand off the price. So
Uh-huh.
entry-level truck, $80K.
Right. So is there a stripped down version that's like at 49 or something? Because you're still a long ways over.
Yeah, I could have a really, really nice TRX for that price. And I could actually have that in a year. Because let's face it, there's a wait list for the TRX. Getting a hold of one of those if you don't have a pre-order, it's going to be a little bit. But yeah, I could have a TRX, which, having driven one myself, I do want and would much rather spend $80K on a TRX than a Hummer EV. I'm sorry,
Right.
but I would.
Okay. So again, for the sake of the argument,
yes,
the F-150 Raptor, okay, 53,455, and most places you're not buying one for the MSRP. So
right.
You're going to pay close to 60 for it. But with 450 horsepower, 6 to 8,000 pounds of towing, it's like 510 foot-pounds of torque. So it's less than the Hummer. Okay, I'll give you that. It is not 702 horsepower TRX range. However, for an additional 20 grand on that $60,000 price range, so now we're up where the TRX and the Hummer EV are, I can have a Hennessy Velociraptor, which will blow both of those trucks out of the water with 650 horsepower and 600 foot-pounds of torque, and more suspension and more tire and more winch and more bumper and more everything for the same money, and I could have it under my Christmas tree this year.
Yep. And I will honestly say that is the part, the pricing and the availability is where I just, they lost me. Like, they had my excitement. I was already like, yeah, I'll even put down $100 deposit just for the fun of it, because it's refundable and all that stuff. But yeah, they lost me at the pricing and the availability. I was like, good.
I don't see how they can actually expect. I mean, spring of 24 is over 3 years away. How did they really see themselves selling?
they want you to start saving now.
But in order to get into the entry level truck, you're still spending 80 grand, and you have to wait 3 years to get it. Like, it just doesn't. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Well, here, I'll help you out a little bit. So I've already referenced, we've got our first look on the 2022 Hummer EV on our website, on our blog, gtgaragetalk.com. We also have news that broke today, November 5th, 2020. So adjust accordingly whenever you're listening. That the Ultium battery pack that will power all of GM's electric vehicles, they have started the process of building the facility in Ohio, and they've started hiring. So if you want to drive one of these, go apply for a job at the new power plant for the electric future of General Motors with Ultium cells. I've got a link in the story on our website that tells you exactly how to apply for a job. If you live up in the Ohio area, head on over gtgaragetalk.com and you'll find out exactly how you can get a job with Ultium cells.
Right. Or if you don't live in the Ohio area and you really, really like snow, you can also apply to it snows a lot in Ohio.
Yes. So anyway, there is tons more to talk about with the Hummer EV. I'm looking forward to the chance that you and I get to drive one. It doesn't matter which version of it. They're all going to be crazy insane.
Yeah.
But I very much look forward to checking one out ourselves, even just getting to do a first drive. If they give us one for a day or a week, GM, hey, we can use some press vehicles.
Oh, yeah.
We'll give you some coverage. And unbiased between the two of us, you take the average of our two opinions, and there you go. There's your unbiased opinion right there. So,
or a very biased and a very biased. I mean, very pro and very against.
You've got the polar opposites here, and somewhere in between is the truth. So there you go. You heard it here first on Garage Talk. But that's all we've got for you this week. We want to take some time to remind you to head on over to gtgaragetalk.com. Check out all of our news stories that we've got going on. We've got new stuff coming out every day, links to our social media pages, and you will definitely want to be paying attention this weekend for some live stuff from the SVRA weekend down at Circuit of the Americas. Some awesome Corvette and vintage racing action going on. But that's about enough for us.
Corvette invasion this week.
Yes, yep. Corvette invasion. No, it's not technically. So it's Corvette Corral.
Corvette Corral at the
don't
SVRA.
Get us in trouble.
I'm sorry.
With Sean. But anyway, gtgaragetalk.com. But until next time, bye.